Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to today's awesome conversation with Kim and Dan, money mastery coaches who are going to talk to us about why being able to talk about money is so freaking essential for the health and well-being of our relationships.
Oh
Absolutely.
my gosh, yes.
Yes.
Sorry, got really excited about that title again.
Yes. So before we dive in, because I know that there's like so much to talk about, but I would love for y'all to just take a couple minutes and introduce yourselves, share like what you're up to, who you are, why you're in this work, and then we'll dive in.
Okay, sounds great. Well, I'm Kim.
I'm Dan. We nailed it. We nailed it.
High five. We did it. Okay, and we're your money mastery coaches. We got into this accidentally. This was not something that we like. It's just a calling. It truly is a calling on our lives that we really feel called to talk to couples about this. We're teachers by trade, so we both teach. He's still in the teaching industry. I used to be. I quit about 4 years ago when I started my first business, and actually went into coaching in finances. And we have two beautiful girls who are 4 and almost 4 and 7. And we just have always had this perspective of we want to live a life with choice. And as much choice as we can give each other, as much choice as we can have in life, that's really a value that's important to us. And so, yeah. So
Right. No, we go
good...
way back. So we are actually, even before high school sweethearts, I met this girl when she was in 8th grade. I was in 7th grade. And man, my way to her heart was humor. I was just next to her and I started barking like a dog. Listen, I was like a teenager. Like I didn't have like swag or whatever, but I was just like, man, I'm going to try to make this girl laugh. So the first thing I thought of was barking like a dog, and like,
8th grade.
man, she laughed. So I was like, I'm in. So high school sweethearts, college sweethearts, we've been together for almost 23 years. And recently, this past October, actually, is when we kind of came together in business. I went on a trip to Cancun with my wife. She was on a business trip, business in Cancun. And, if you're going to do business, be in Cancun. And we realized, man, we really have something, like we're truly better together and we have something here. So she left the teaching profession. I'm still in it, but we are slowly making our way, together into this profession, just trying to help couples strengthen their relationship around money through strategic communication and action. That's
beautiful. That's it. That's us in a nutshell.
So good. And so like yummy. Like it's just like yummy.
I've never been described as that. I like that. We're yummy.
This feels so yummy for my heart. So tell us, like, why have you all found in the work that you're doing that being able to talk about money is so essential? Because like we think about making money being able to be essential, and we know communication is essential, but like why is being able to talk specifically about money such a game changer in relationships?
I think for us, so how we got into even talking about money in general, right? Which it's such a common thread in every marriage and every relationship and any human being. Especially if you're living in America, we all have to touch money at some point. It is something that's going to help us be able to get food on our table, be able to, be able to have experiences, be able to have the life that we have. It's because of money, right? And not that money is like the lifeblood of things, because we don't want it to control us, but we have this like we need to be able to learn how to control it so that it does not control us. And so I never really liked talking about money. I hated money. I didn't want to talk about it. I had fear around money when I was growing up. And it wasn't really something that was just passed down. It was just learned. So when it talked about, my dad gave me a credit card when I went off to college, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm scared. I don't want to touch it, because what happens? What if? And I would have savings and I would hoard it, and I would just be like, I don't know what to do. Is this what it's supposed to do? And then I would spend money, and then I'd be like filled with guilt and shame and all that stuff. So then, and he was like a hoarder when it comes to money, but didn't really have a reason as to why he was saving it. He was just always saving it. Put those two people together when there's a rift that comes in. So when we first got married, we had $76,000 of student loan debt. That was his, which I think is really important to the story, because I easily could have been like, that's all you, boo. You have a good time with that. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do me, because this scares me. Like I've never had to deal with that much money owed, let alone earned in my life.
Mhm.
And he easily could have been like, no, I'm not going to tell her. I'm going to keep it secret. I'm going to like, this is all private loans. This is my situation. We don't have to, we can just be separate from here on out.
Sure.
But we had this perspective of, no, we're a team, we're married. So let's be a team. So let's figure this out together. Like, how are we going to do this? And so that was kind of when communication became vital for us to
Mhm.
really have the conversation of like, how are we going to do this? Because I don't like this. You don't like this. I don't like seeing you feeling discouraged or whatever about the money. So let's figure it out. Like, let's solve the problem. And so that's where that kind of came from.
You said something very interesting to me. And it was one of the first things that you said. Not that I didn't listen to all the other things that you said, but it stood out to me. All right. So you said that money is something that we, interact with all the time. Like literally, you interact with money every single day. And I bet people listening who are, in a relationship can probably talk to their partner about everything under the sun. Like it doesn't matter. Like they can have conversations about anything. Like they love talking to their person. That's their person.
Mhm.
But you bring money into the equation. All of a sudden it's like crickets. Like I can talk to you about anything, but the one thing we interact with every single day is just so tough to talk about. And like, why is that? Like, why is money so tough to talk about for couples?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's kind of like where we kind of had this perspective. And I think I had the perspective that every couple had to figure this out and that every couple knows how to talk to each other about money. So we're behind the curve. We've got to figure it out. So then we can do this. When we got out of debt, I knew that people, like we got out of debt, we paid off the $76,000 in 28 months. And we had to be really diligent about like money dates, really diligent about like talking about and dreaming about our values, really diligent about where the money was going, yada, 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 works we were doing. And when we got out of debt, I remember thinking, everybody does this. Everybody has paid off debt. Everybody is at this point. We have finally caught up. And when I talked to other people, I think the more we progressed in marriage and had more conversations with more couples, I recognized we were rare.
Yeah, you're the anomaly.
An anomaly. And I was like, wait, not everyone's doing this? Wait, what?
It's amazing how many like things exist behind the curtains of relationships. We have these assumptions about what they're like for everybody, and actually, no.
Yeah. And it took us a minute to figure out that that's our superpower. Like it took us a minute to recognize that like even in our friend group, we would talk about our experience and how we paid off debt. And like another friend who, they were getting married, we're like, what did you guys do? Because we don't want to be we want to have a marriage like you guys have. And we're like, I mean, okay, cool. And we would tell them, they would do it. They got out of debt and they're like, best thing ever. Great marriage, right? Our friends, who were single, who were like, I want to make sure I have understanding of like investing and whatever. So now we've cultivated this friend group where we love talking about money. And the idea of like, hey guys, in a year, or not even like we did it one time with our friends. We were like, guys, do you guys want to go on a couple trips to Disney? And they're like, yeah, let's go. And we're like, all right, how about 8 months? Can we all budget that? And they're like, yes, absolutely. And we all went. Like we left a group chat. You know what I mean? And things like that happen often because we've cultivated this like group around us. But it wasn't like I thought that that's what everybody experienced. And it took us probably until this past year to recognize, like I had been working with female entrepreneurs because I had a passion for it. Because I saw so many entrepreneurs saying, I made 6 figures in a month, a day. But when you peel back the curtain, they don't have any idea where the money is going. They're up to their eyeballs in debt. They don't know how to talk to their spouse. There's a whole host of like money trauma. And I was like, what is the point of making this much money and not knowing how to manage it? So I started helping these entrepreneurs for the past 4 years. And that was really what I did with my business. But it wasn't until like, I think this last year that we recognized, oh my gosh, we actually have a methodology. We actually have something that we can share. We actually have a perspective that might shift a lot of marriages, in the US and in the world, like.
Yeah. Like you're absolutely right in saying that every single couple has to contend with this. and that like money is something we deal with every day. It affects all of our relationships, whether you're making a little or making a lot.
Mhm.
And being able to talk about what we're doing with that money, how we're investing it, how we're saving, how we're spending, what our dreams are in what to do with that money, how we want to share or not share debt and income. Like those are all conversations that a lot of couples avoid.
Yeah, it's a very intimate.
It is. It's intimate, vulnerable.
Conversation.
We have all kinds of stories attached to money, all kinds of like intergenerational programming around money.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
You know, and it just like it activates people's nervous systems. It puts them in like a almost a threatened place to be having that conversation. And what we found in the work that we do with couples is that as soon as your nervous system gets activated,
Forget it.
like it's harder to do connection.
Mhm.
You're on the defense and you're more likely to run into trouble in your relationship. And
Yes.
money is one of those things that like
Very activating.
is more likely than not going to activate both partners.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you get those troubles. It's hard to talk about money, and then you're not. And then what happens? Like what do you find happens when people or partners are not talking about money, not having these conversations or not having them well in their relationship?
Yeah.
So I think that's when you start to see people take, for at least, well, this is what I'm going to say, is people tend, if you don't want to have that money argument, that money fight, that's what you're trying to avoid because it's messy, it's awkward, it's not enjoyable. Like that's not what you want to come home to. Then you start to do things separate. You say, you know what? I think I'm just going to get my own personal credit card and I'm going to swipe in secret and I'm not going to tell them about my shopping because every time I came home with a new dress or a new pair of shoes or some cigars or something, they're like, oh, with what money did you buy that? Or don't you have enough shoes? Or looks like we're, really cracking down on our shared goals here. Like there's all these like, attacks every time they see you come home with something and you're like, dude, I was just using like the money from my discretionary budget. Like this is my own money. But I think it's easier for people to move and isolate themselves and do things separate and start swiping in secret and just trying to avoid the whole conversation altogether. Which causes more problems.
Which, like, think about how we just had this conversation that money touches everything.
Right.
So when you talk about sending your kids to school, if you want to go to a daycare or a camp or whatever, right? It's going to affect that conversation. Now we're fighting over our kids. Now we're fighting over which grocery store we're going to. Now we're fighting over, like, oh, this vacation, you want to go again? With what money? Where are we going? No, we can't go on any vacations. And so now one part of the spouse, relationship is feeling trapped, feeling restricted, and the other one is feeling like we can't do anything. And there's this constant tension. It just keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter. That's the reason why money is one of the main reasons for divorce, like effects of divorce, because we don't know how to come together and have these conversations. The moment you start saying, I don't want to talk to you about it and I avoid it at all costs, it's a poison that's going to touch every single part. Like the resentment that some people feel towards their spouse, the guilt that they will put their spouse through when it comes to money. It's sometimes really hard to hear couples talk to each other in a certain way. Even like I can't even watch certain, like if you think about sitcoms, like our society, like it's everywhere, right? Like
TV is ruined. When you start working on yourself, you can't even watch TV anymore.
I can't. There's like there are certain shows like that I'm watching and I'm like, this is awful. Like this is what people are ingesting, and it's like, oh no, this is normal. That's normal. And
Exactly.
That's not normal. Like it doesn't have to be normal.
Yeah.
For me, it all like goes back to trust. Like I'm picturing Aladdin holding out his hand to Jasmine and he's like, do you trust me? Before they get on that car. Like it all comes back to trust. Like I know we talk about kind of like a cornerstone, like when you're laying a foundation, like the cornerstone and how that cornerstone for your foundation is the reference point for all the other foundational blocks that you place. Right. And that cornerstone, like I like to, associate that with trust. If you don't have that trust, if that's not your first foundational stone that you get right with your relationship, then everything else in your structure is going to be crooked. Like everything else is going to sag. So if you don't have trust, now you're going to see that you're going to start having, you know, a lack of like open and honesty. And if there's dishonesty, now you're going to start to see criticism and blame.
Right.
And if you're criticizing and blaming, now you're not going to be able to use tools to help your relationship like I statements and active listening and all this other stuff, right? Because you're at a point where, like you said, like your nervous system's reacting, like you're in fight or flight. You're like, I'm either fighting this and we're going at it and we're going to have a shouting match, or I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm going. Like, I don't want to have this conversation. I'll just go get another credit card. So yeah, it for me, it all goes back to trust. Like, do you trust your partner? Do you trust that they have your best interest at heart? Do you trust that if you present your values, your beliefs about money to them, are they going to like crush it and shut it down? Or are they going to be like, I see you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how you see money.
Oh, I understand you so much more now.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're bringing up the trust factor, Dan, because that's one of the things that I'm noticing as we're talking about this coming up for me is like that sense of safety, right? So like trust equals safety. Yeah. In relationships. And if you can't trust that your partner is going to care about your values and dreams and how you want to relate to money, or make space for how you want to relate to money as compared to how they do differently, or you can't trust that they're going to be honest, or that they're going to make good financial decisions, or that they're going to let you know when they are spending money or when they're hoarding money, right? Then you stop feeling safe. And when you don't feel safe financially, right? Like we talked about, that feels like such a threat to your well-being, to your dreams, to your future, to your kids, to your family, to your legacy. Like, yes, to everything, right? To survival. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Like putting food on the table and keeping the roof over your house. Yeah.
It's heavy, right? Like it's so much more. I just did like something in my group where I'm giving away like one of the budgets that we use to kind of just track and keep track of where things are going. And it helps us do all of these things. And the amount of people who are like, I want it. I couldn't in my I guess in my character, I guess in my integrity, I guess that's a word. I'm like, I can't just give it to you and go, this is going to be the thing that's going to solve all your problems. You must understand that it's so much deeper than this. It is way, like a lot of our clients that come into our world recognize how much more emotional this work is than just, let's just look at the numbers and tell it where to go. Like we can do that all day long. In fact, you've probably done that. People have probably done that. Yeah, I know where my money is going. Yeah, I'm aware. But yet they still have tension. They have not done the work of like really diving deep in there, which is why I tell people, if you're working with a therapist along with working with us, because that's obviously not our forte. We don't have the certifications for that. That is a beautiful place to be, because that you're going to be able to kind of like really think through some of that, like that trauma that's happening behind the scenes there. And that nervous system that needs to be regulated so that you're ready to actually receive like, okay, this is the work we have to do to repair our financial relationship and have these conversations without feeling attacked, or with an open mind that we're here for each other. We're not here to fight each other. And it takes time, but man, when they get it, it's beautiful.
If you suck at money, we're your people. If you suck at talking about money with your partner, we're your people. But if there's a deeper rooted issue, if there's a root cause to why you have this fractured trust in your relationship, right? Maybe it goes back to your childhood and you have like, you know, you were exposed to like substance abuse or like physical abuse or infidelity, broken promises, you know, whatever it is from your child, like that. That's not us. You know what I mean? That's where
then we might be your people.
You've got those deeper, you know, those like we're really peeling back the layers. And if that's like that's why you're having a tough time trusting, like that's out of my wheelhouse. But yes, that's the beautiful thing. That's why we have people like you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's definitely our wheelhouse. So tell us more about, you know, how do they create these powerful, conversations about money?
Yes.
This is me sliding my notes over to Kim like, hey,
this is our notes.
Read this.
It's my favorite. It's my
Say the
Yeah.
thing.
because I get so excited about this. I have to make sure I have notes to keep myself
Stay
focused.
focused.
Yeah, that's good.
I love this part because the first thing that we have our clients do is to actually focus more on themselves before they focus on each other. Because if you don't understand, it's so big. Like,
That's the way to go. It's the
you
way to
have
go.
to heal yourself first
Yes.
before you can actually be able to support one another. So we always have our clients we have this money archetype quiz where it kind of tells you like, how do you interact with money? But we also go deeper than that and just go like, what are the things that you desire? What are your values?
Yeah, what
Why
are your
do you
beliefs, your priorities, your values with money? Like you really get to understand who you are with this tool.
Nice.
Cool.
And we want, both sides, both spouses to understand that part. Like, what is it that you desire out of this life? And how is money a part of that? And why do you view money the way that you do? Because contrary to what society likes to tell us, just because you like going on vacations often and you love experiences and you love shopping for your friends and family does not mean that you are horrible with money. It does not mean that you are wasteful. It means that you're wired to care for others and you're wired to like pretty things, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Like to make memories.
Like there's nothing wrong with that. And we need to make sure that we repair that first so that you feel whole and valued as a person who you are worthy of managing money, even if you enjoy spending it. I love to spend money, but because now I learn the value of like, oh, when I actually have more things that create security for me in other places, like emergency funds and other, pots of money that are able to help me if like my car breaks down or whatever, I feel so much more open to going on experiences or, being able to be with my friends and family. So anyway, so we do that for each person. Then we are trying to cultivate that safe place, as we just talked about earlier. You guys just kind of said it like in conversation, but like, how do we have these conversations with our spouse? What is the structure of it all? And I think sometimes it starts with like a framework that we have to guide people through of like, first we do this, then we do this, and this is how we end it. And we say it's a timed thing, it's 15 minutes. We're not trying to make this a whole summit. We're not trying to change our whole world and transform it in like 1 hour and a half session. We got to make sure that this is consistent and something that is easy to do.
So it begins with understanding your money archetype and your partner's money archetype. We then teach you how to cultivate these safe place conversations. We lay that framework down. And then the next thing that we do as we move forward, and our third component is we help you align your goals to your archetype. So we're kind of like bringing the dreams together. Like this is her dreams, this is your partner's dreams, and we're bringing it all together and we're saying, all right, now we're going to start pulling together. You guys, we're doing this. Now we're doing this. Like we're coming together. We're pulling as one.
Typically around this time, as people are figuring out, as they're talking about their goals and like things that they desire for themselves, like this is what I want for my family, and then other spouses, like, this is what I want for my family. They're going to find some similarities there. You both actually want to have.
Oh, you both want to win with money?
You both want to win.
Exactly.
You both want to have a lot of money? Wow.
You
don't want to be broke.
Wow.
Stalker.
Mind blown.
So, all right, what do you think is the first thing we need to do to make sure we don't get broke? We should have a fully funded savings account. I agree, right? That's typically what mainly, causes people to go, that is something that's important to us. So when we have a common goal, then it's easier for us to come up with like the strategies and the money management that goes around it. Now numbers come into place and we can start pulling together towards this like aligned goal. And then we just kind of teach them how to have this routine or this repetition of like, we're not stopping the conversations. They have to keep happening because that's what keeps things out in the open. When things are getting rough and you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit whatever, we walk you through, this is what's happening and here's how to work through it, right? So it's fun and it changes with every couple because everyone comes with their different like perspective of how they move forward. But that's typically the framework of like starting with self and then bringing together those aligned goals.
So once we establish that framework and how to have those safe place conversations, that's when we get into conversations about your dreams and goals. Our fourth component is strategy sessions. So we're just laying down all these different financial strategies that you can have to help you guys stay aligned and continue to communicate and continue to crush your goals. And then we establish in our fifth component financial routine. And yes, it's a very cyclical, nature that it always loops back to how you start the conversation. So start to finish and back again.
I love that. And I really appreciate that you're like talking about the importance of getting into the roots of what comes up for us around money and like learning about ourselves and then learning about how to have these conversations effectively, which we've maybe never done before. Because I think a lot of people, as you named, Kim, like when everybody wanted your budget, like a lot of people just want the strategy. They just want to know, how do I fix this? How do I make more money? How do I get more financial security? How do I invest? Right? They don't realize that this is really about like shifting your own internal stuff in relationship with money, and then shifting the pattern between us, the energy between us around how we come together as a team in relationship to money. And then when we can do that, when we feel like safe within ourselves and safe within our relationships and can have conversations, then the strategies make sense. Because otherwise you're trying to do strategies in that activation and you're just like getting into fight and you're not in agreement and you don't know how to do it, or you don't
feel good. So
know what's going up within
Right.
yourself.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said about not feeling good, because one of the big things that we do is we try to surround everything that we do with positivity. Like you always have to bring a win to the conversation, and you always have to end with gratitude and positivity, because so many times money is associated with this negative conversation. Like, oh, they're going to talk to me about how we carried a balance this month, or oh, they're going to talk to me about how I spent money on this, or oh, how we're out of money, or we got to make more. My job doesn't bring in enough. Like it's always surrounded with some type of like, we're going to talk about money. It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
So we try to always bring a win to, even if it's just, hey, we showed up and we're talking about money.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Yes.
that is better than what you were doing.
Yeah, and I think that's just what changes our mindset. Like you talk about money mindset, that slow like shift in how you talk about money. And the more I tell people all the time, so tell me, when do you and your spouse typically have a conversation around money? It's typically probably when bills are due, right? When bills are due, when there's a crisis coming up, when there's, something discretionary that happened that you were like, oh, what is this? What does this even mean? Oh, we got to call all these people. So you notice that all these things are very stressful situations, right?
Yeah.
So it's no wonder why whenever you think about money and conversations with your spouse, you immediately have a reaction of, oh, this sucks. But what if you shifted that and you talked about money when money was good? I guarantee you there's probably more positive things, positive times that we can talk about money and go, things are going great. You'll notice that the negative stuff doesn't happen as much. There's a lot more positivity. So if we are tricking our brain to having more of the positive conversation, we in turn will, when the negative times come where it's like, oh, this is a challenge, we are able to rise and go, we had so much positivity happen in the last month.
Yeah.
We can handle this please, let's keep going. Like it doesn't hurt.
It builds momentum.
It does.
It does. It really does. And again, like people going straight to the strategy, like they're looking for the get rich quick or whatever thing. And I'm like, now what's going to happen is you're going to burn out. The strategy is not going to work because you don't know what's behind it. You don't have the mindset. There's so much beneath the surface that you have to have an alignment. And again, like I laugh so hard because like when you asked us earlier, like, how did you get into this? We did not recognize that we had already been doing this work for the past we married, 13 years almost? Well, married together for longer than that. But like,
yes,
for like,
I knew the number.
You did. We've been married 13 years. Nah, it's been 10 or 12. But this has been like almost over a decade in the making of us actively making this intentional effort to have these conversations and dream often and align our goals over and over and over again to get us these results.
Yeah.
Insane.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
That's where I was going to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
we got notes too.
I love it.
Can you share a little bit about like what happens to the couples that work with you when they get really good at like having these conversations? results.
That's
Example.
all you love.
Oh my God.
Look at the excitement. I
Oh.
feel it, Kim.
It's really funny because like he is typically the mathematician, he's into numbers and stuff, and I'm more emotional. But when it comes to this like work, I love the numbers. It's really funny. And I think the reason why I love it so much is because I love the wins. You know, like it's kind of like, yes, you saved $2,000 this month. Let's go. Like, what are you going to do to celebrate? Where are you going out to eat? Can I go with you? Right? Like, I want people to celebrate that. So typically our couples will find that they have more money left over at the end of the month, because in our systems, we try to have them ahead. So we want you to plan ahead so that you're able to, at the beginning of the month, know how you're going to end the month, know how much money you're going to have left over. We help them plan that out. So typically our clients, when they walk through, have over between $1,500 and $2,000. I've had one client who has $5,000 in discretionary funds that had no clue, like because they were just swiping and they were like, didn't slow down enough. That they were like, I have $5,000 in discretionary funds. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. So what are we going to do with that? You know, this is exciting. It's like receiving Christmas and being able to kind of plan it out. So a lot of
you got $5,000 to spend for Christmas.
Yeah.
Nice Christmas.
Right. So a lot of our clients are able to be ahead on things like vacations, on things like holidays, on sending their kids to a private school. We have one client who that was their goal. They wanted to be able to send their kids to this private school, but they wanted to make sure that they were ahead of the payments. And we talked them through how to make sure that they were ahead of those payments. Nice. We talked to them about like, you know, making sure that they have plans for vacation. Like we had one client making almost $20,000 in a given month. A lot of our clients are high earning and they're like, wait, we are making that much money a month. And I'm like, yes, like you're making this, like they don't know, you know, and then they recognize like, we want to go on vacation. And I'm like, go on vacation, like look, give yourself permission to breathe and enjoy your life. Right. So a lot of them are able to work through this money block of like, I can't, we're restricted. Like there's so many reasons because of the unknown that now that they have this clarity, giving themselves permission to look at everything and go, we can do that. We can go on that trip and not feel guilt is just beautiful. They're
so liberating.
Yeah, it's super liberating. Many of them don't have like people around them to help them with their finances because they thought they had to do it on their own. So my favorite is to use my network and leverage my network to help them with investments, to help them with, because that's not my forte, help them with investments, to help them with insurances, to help them with making sure that they have, you know, trust that's important for them, whatever the case may be, a CPA, tax booking, a bookkeeping accountant, because many of our clients are entrepreneurs, but they don't have these people in place because no one has told them. They've been so busy and consumed with life that it's so hard to see what is this role of mine as a CEO of a business that's making over $3 million. And I don't have a CPA that's actually like, it's like, you know, 1-800 tax accountant. I'm like, no, you need someone who's going to grow with your business and grow with your family. So being able to connect them to those professionals who are then going to give them really sound advice and make sure that their monies are being utilized and in the best efforts for their specific business has just been really beautiful to see them grow into like, oh my gosh, I feel like they've said, I feel like I'm a big kid now. Like I'm actually doing like what I should be doing with my money. And I'm like, yes. So there's so much that I know, you know, we could talk about decades from now that it will be a result of the seeds that we planted and the work we did together. That is kind of baffling when I sit back and think about it. Like I just helped a 26-year-old start investing for her kid's 529. And when he's 18, like he's going to have enough for, you know, his, you know, his college or whatever he chooses to have as a result of the work we did together. Like that's super impactful. So it's huge.
So my turn. So I'm the illustration guy. So for me, what happens when they get good at the conversations, they really start to pull together and do exceedingly more than even they thought or others might have thought. So we always use this illustration of a yoke and an oxen. An oxen is a pretty docile creature. By itself, it can pull its own weight, which is about 3,000 pounds. So pretty impressive, can pull 3,000 pounds. And then one day somebody invented the yoke. And I imagine like someone going on to like Shark Tank with like a piece of wood. And they're like, look, man, if you take this and you slap this on 2 oxen, like they're going to pull so much. And they probably just like laugh at them like, dude, a piece of wood is going to make like my 2 oxen pull like so much more because they're pulling together. Like, okay, buddy, you go enjoy your slap of wood, your whatever. So you yoke these 2 creatures together and you think to yourself, okay, 1 pulled 3,000. So 2 would probably pull 6,000. Wrong. 2 oxen can pull quadruple the weight of 1. So they can pull almost up to 13,000 pounds because they are moving in alignment. They're moving together. And it makes me think about Kim and I when we first, paid off our student loans. Like people saw us, we paid off $76,000 in 28 months. And we were both 2 private school teachers making $56,000 annually. And when we told people like, hey, this is our goal, like we're going to try to knock out these student loans. We're going to go crazy and do this. And people looked at us and I know they were thinking to themselves, like, I'm rubbing my wife's back here. Oh, honey, sure you do. Sure. Yes. You're 23. Yes, honey, you go try to pay off the loan. You do that, honey. Right. And then 28 months later go by and our loans are paid off. And now all of a sudden everyone's looking at us like, hold up. How did you guys do this? And now we get to look at them and be like, oh, honey, didn't you see? Didn't you pay attention? Like, didn't you see what we did? You know what I mean? Like, we got to throw that back in their face, which I know sounds terrible, but like, that's the power of pulling together. And that's what these clients are going through. Like, they're learning how to have these conversations and they're blowing their own expectations out of the water. People are seeing them move together as one and they're like, whoa, like, I want that too for myself. And
I love that so much. What a powerful illustration. And I like, we totally get that shift, right? That energetic acceleration that can happen in our lives when we start pulling together, when we start working together in all things, and how like compelling to want to pull together in finances. Cause it, like money may not buy happiness, but it sure does open a lot of doors that like bring happiness.
I mean,
let's be real. Let's be real.
For sure. It would fix a lot of people's problems.
Yeah, that it sure would. And we all want to, win the lottery and have that fix it for us. But even if we did, and we didn't know how to like talk about what to do with that money and where to put that money, like we'd still have problems. So it's not
I don't
more
know
money.
The statistic, and I'm pulling this out of my butt, but I do know that a lot of those people that win those mega millions end up broke again, right? Because they didn't change their habits.
They had no idea.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's so like you're transforming the lives of couples and their kids, creating a legacy, like a wealth legacy, and energetically just like doing so much to resolve the shame and the fear around money. And I just think that's so beautiful and so needed in our relationships in our world.
Yeah, it's really, really rewarding work. And when people, like, I know it's so emotional and it's a lot, but if you really like step into it and lean into it, because some of the stuff, I don't think money is meant to be hard. We make it hard. And
100%.
I think that's the case with a lot of things, honestly. Overcomplicate.
For sure.
And so when we lean in, and some of our practices are very elementary, right? We're literally saying in 15 minutes, I want you to say this script and I want you to mean it, but I want you to say like these things. And you can definitely tell people are like, I am a grown. Why am I? And I'm like, trust me, because it's in those simplistic things that you're going to have the big impact. Just trust the process. And so it really, truly is a very rewarding work. And I just, our clients are awesome, and seeing them reach their goals is amazing.
Well, it's so evident that this is your zone of genius, your like purpose and passion and ministry in the world. If people are like want to know more, they want to work with you, how do they do that? What do you have? How can they like get more of this wonderful energy and learning and transformation that you two offer?
I would say the first place that you should do is just go binge watch our podcast. So we have a podcast called the Affluent Marriage Podcast. And we really go deep in talking about our own situations, our own flubs, like in real time. But we also talk about like our favorite books that we've read that has really changed our perspectives. And we go through a lot of different topics in there that I think are really great that might help with you know, just kind of hearing more from us. We also are on social. We're mainly on Facebook and Instagram. So you can find us. I'm sure there's handles somewhere that you can click on. And just DM us. Like, we are literally an open book. We will welcome any questions that you have. We have a mastermind that's called the Financial Harmony Mastermind. That is our flagship, like our main offer. And we love to be able to bring couples into the space and really help them with all the things we mentioned earlier, helping them understand more about themselves and about each other, helping them align goals and come up with the financial strategy that helps them reach those goals effectively. So that is really what we're doing at this point, and how we're kind of helping couples in the world.
Awesome.
Yay. Well, I certainly hope anybody listening and feeling called to working with Kim and Dan, send them a DM, find them, ask your questions, and get in on this, because your life awaits. Your relationship, so much more and better awaits. And if you're also struggling with like deeper issues in your relationship, and then money is just like a layer of it, you know, maybe work with both of us.
We only go so deep over here.
I mean, we can talk through that
relationship around. They got your money. Between the four of us, like, your life is never going to be the same.
Yeah, we'll get you straightened out. Like, this is the thing. Like, I love networking, and I love leveraging like relationships. That's why I created a network of so many people. So yes, if you want to utilize both of us, that is definitely something that can be done.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been so much fun. I know we're like over time, and I'm sure we could like talk for another 30 minutes to an hour. But we'll let everybody else go. And then the four of us are just going to have to.
That's why we'll stay on.
We're good. Well, thank you so much for having us on. We really enjoyed it as well. And I mean, we can have part 2, part 3, part 4 conversations of this, because there's so many layers to this as well.
Oh, I totally believe it.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. All
Until
right.
then.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.